Part 1 of the Fallout Iceberg list has done pretty well for me through Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube, so I'm happy to continue my series of the Fallout Iceberg. As I'm writing this section, I found out that the original post on icebergcharts.com has been deleted, so with that, this is one of the few references left of this iceberg tier list. Because I managed to find it, I find it's my duty to finish exploring this iceberg and breaking down its meaning. Today's video will take us into Tier 2 with still 19 entries. I'm going to only be doing this iceberg tier, and at the end I will be compiling a whole list into one video. But until then, let's dig in. Mr. New Vegas is AI. Although he's never seen in-game, the voice of Mr. New Vegas, voiced by Mr. Las Vegas himself, Wayne Newton, is heard throughout the wasteland as the courier does various quests through the game, even with a radio host announcing accomplishments done by the main protagonist. However, the reason why we never see Mr. New Vegas is because he is just a voice. He's AI, created by Mr. House pre-war to bring music to the people of Las Vegas. The most interesting thing about it is never stated in-game that Mr. New Vegas is AI, or that Mr. House created him. The only way that we know he is this is from a blog post by Bethesda introducing the voice actors of the game, and to which they described Mr. New Vegas as being just a voice on the radio. He has no body. He was created by Mr. House. And although I'm perfectly fine with this being the explanation why you don't see him in-game, I would have loved to get some sort of in-game reference to this being the case as being the reasoning why we don't see him, or some reference as to say Mr. House created him. Sole Survivor is a synth. There's been a long-running theory that Fallout 4's main protagonist, the Sole Survivor, is actually a synth. This has been a pretty debated theory since the game's launch, with evidence including the Sole Survivor being able to use VATS before they get their Pip-Boy, even though other things have been turned off until after they left the vault, like waiting. In the Far Harbor DLC, when talking with Dima, they ask the player what's their earliest memory, to which the player responds being right before the bombs dropped. To which Dima responds is a bit suspicious, not having any childhood memories or any other memory. In the memory den, the only memory that the player can view is when their spouse is killed by Kellogg. And finally, tying in with another post, the Railroad's hideout by Vault 111. Now, I'm personally not a believer of this theory, although I think it would be interesting. My main reasoning is because Sean has shown numerous times that he does not care for synth or thinks much of them. So, if the Institute really created you, and when the player starts doing bad things against the Institute, why doesn't Sean or anyone else in the Institute just use the deactivation code? I think the biggest piece of evidence people refer to in this theory is the Dima dialogue, but I think it's just that character's personality, trying to get into the character's head of asking the question, how do they know they're not a synth? Which fits into the setting of the DLC, and would help make the character understand Kusami a little bit more. Impossible Followers good ending. When completing Fallout New Vegas and siding with Yes Man and making it independent New Vegas, most of the factions within the game get a neutral or good ending, except for the Followers of the Apocalypse. No matter what you do to try to support them or give them medical supplies, the ending or outcome for them will always remain the same. With the old Mormon fort the followers are based out of getting an excessive amount of new patients, and they cannot provide the basic care for them. It is weird that the other endings of the game, like siding with the NCR or Caesar's Legion, you get two possible outcomes, a good one and a bad one. However, the independent route only has the bad one. Looking into this is a bit weird. Although I haven't found any definite proof, a lot of people seem to think that there was a cut good ending for them. Fallout Van Buren. Fallout Van Buren was the originally planned Fallout 3 game that would have been made by Black Isle Studios. The game would have started the player in prison and would be broken out randomly during an attack on the prison. Over the course of the game, you will find the main antagonist, Dr. Presper, would try to drop a ballistic satellite known as Bomb 001 into the Boulder and Denver area to release a new plague, a virus that was present pre-war. But the player had to try to stop him. The large story elements of the game can actually be seen in Fallout New Vegas, such as the NCR and Brotherhood of Steel War, Joshua Graham, and Caesar's Legion. You can still play the tech demo online for free, which can be found online. New Vegas is the Wizard of Oz retold. So there's a theory that's been going around that Fallout New Vegas is just the Wizard of Oz story retold, in the sense that your character, like Dorothy, wakes up in a bad situation and just wants to go home / solve a problem. So they embark on a quest, following a road to meet a man behind a curtain that doesn't want to let you know what he looks like. Honestly, in my opinion, it's a pretty lame theory, as it basically is just the outline of the Wizard of Oz. Like, it's super basic, so it doesn't hold much weight to my opinion. One thing I do like about this theory is the idea that possibly some of the game designers heard about this theory, and in the Old World's Blues DLC, when the player gets abducted and needs to return home, but first they need to find some of their body parts that's been missing. Most notably, the parts that are missing are the brain, heart, and spine, aka the symbol of courage, which is a bit more closer in reference to the Wizard of Oz. Deacon's hideouts. In Fallout 4, the companion known as Deacon is a bit of a wild card. As one of the high-ranking members of the Railroad in Boston, Deacon seems to know a lot about your character before you even interact with him. And well, that might be because he has been watching you the entirety of the game. In fact, if you really keep an eye out, you can spot Deacon in disguise as a drifter in Good Neighbor, a drifter in the memory den in one of the machines, a caravan worker in Bunker Hill, and a security guard in Diamond City. If you try interacting with him, he will respond with Rhinolocio, the voice actor of the character, with simple NPC types of dialogue like "Hey" and "What's up?" Even more interesting, it may not be Deacon, but come on, it's most likely Deacon. You can find a little outpost right above Vault 111 with the railroad sign of Ally, meaning at least someone was watching you. Brahmin Tipping. Much like the real-life counterpart, Brahmin can be tipped and knocked over in Fallout 1, 2, 3, and New Vegas. The interaction is always really fun as you see Brahmin getting knocked down and stumble as it slowly gets back up. It's a fun and almost hidden interaction, as all you do is crouch and do an unarmored attack on the creature, as you don't lose any karma and it doesn't become hostile to you. Original child killer reputation artwork. Most people have seen this image as it's been a meme in the Fallout community for a while now, but did you know this artwork is actually the original art for the child killer reputation in Fallout 2? Now, let's back this up a little bit first. That's right, in Fallout 1 and 2, players could straight up kill children, with of course a huge penalty involving having a bounty on you and a -30 reputation to good and evil characters in game. Now, back to the image. This was obviously the original unused artwork for the reputation that was drawn by Brian Menzies, who said on an interview on The Vault, "I thought this was the least offensive way to do it. I have no idea what I was thinking. Even the designer who requested it realized it was a bad idea, so we fixed it. Looking back on it now, I can't believe I drew this." Ron, the narrator. Ron Perlman is a voice actor that is in almost every Fallout game and has one of the most classic lines in the universe.
War never changes.
And in Fallout New Vegas, just like the original 2, he does the ending slides that does a recap of what happened in New Vegas post-game with the courier. The voice that is heard in the end slides is Ron the narrator, which isn't a character that you see in-game, but exists in the game's files itself. If using console commands to move out of view of the end slides, you can see the slides are legit slides on a screen, and you see Ron the narrator behind the slides. If you try to interact with him, the camera will immediately zoom back to the next slide, It's an interesting concept in my opinion, that this is the way they chose to do the end slides, and if you really dig into it, just another connection to how Fallout New Vegas is the Wizard of Oz. Scrapped Rotface quest. Rotface is a ghoul found in Freeside and Fallout New Vegas, and always has a tip to give the player in exchange for some caps, of course. But originally, Rotface was supposed to play a much larger role in teaching the player a lesson in the dangers of Freeside. There's a cut quest that will show Rotface progressively getting nicer, better clothes and hats, the more caps the players give him. But this will end in two different ways depending on how you treat the character. In the first one, you will find Rotface dead on the street with all his newfound items stolen, as it seems another person in Freeside wanted the items for themselves. The other way is you end in one final tip that involves you following Rotface into an alley and then him holding you at gunpoint wanting all of your caps. So yeah, it seems that Rotface wasn't planned to be nice in the end, with you having to make a choice between all of your caps or this beggar that you have been supporting most of the game. Reoccurring theme of lost body parts. Even if you have never played Fallout, you have most likely seen screenshots of exploding heads or other body parts that have become known for the Fallout franchise. And this has been a reoccurring theme even before the Bloody Mess perk first introduced in Fallout 3. In fact, this loss of limbs explosions have been seen in every single game, and is one of the things that has translated well from the turn-based style games of the originals to the first-person RPG styles, as limbs just fall off their users. Bats plays a huge role in this, and helps the player focus their direct attack on a specific body part, with enough damage being able to cripple the limb and thus exploding from their body. But this is not always the case. I remember the first time playing the originals and getting mutilated by super mutants with a minigun, or my companion Ian with a submachine gun who's just really bad at aiming. Point is, whether you think about it or not, body parts being lost or exploding have always been a staple in the games since the originals. Riding Liberty Prime. In Fallout 3, the Brotherhood of Steel introduces us to Liberty Prime, a pre-war robot that America built to aid them against China. The giant robot throws nukes and destroys anything in its path, as can be seen in the final battles of Fallout 3 and 4. But originally the game had much more in store. While speaking at GDC, Emil Pedrigo discussed that Liberty Prime was originally much larger than what was seen in the final game, being 5 times bigger, and you can control Liberty Prime through its head, kind of like a kaiju battle. Say what you want about the idea, I think it would be cool as hell to pile through super mutants and the Enclave in a controllable Liberty Prime. This idea and many other things in Fallout 3 were eventually cut due to time, and they had to scale back on their plan. Dead Money Depressing Ending. This entry is another broad topic, as honestly a lot of endings could be depressing, but because this is in secrets and not concepts, I will be talking about how the player can end Dead Money siding with Elijah or trapped in the vault. You get the option to side with Elijah if 2 conditions are made by the player. Both these conditions have to be done in the main game, so it's harder ending to complete. Most likely, the entry is referring to you have to become vilified within the NCR and talk to Veronica about everything possible about Elijah, and sometimes this even bugs out and you don't get this ending, so it's a difficult ending to do. This ending has the cloud rolling into the Mojave, blinding most of the population by how thick it is, and then killing most of the people that live there. This then forces the Legion and NCR to back away from the Hoover Dam. The ending where you get trapped into the vault is most likely something people have experienced on accident when you're trying to collect all, if not most, of the gold bars and can't escape the vault in time, which results in the player dying in there in a hologram that resembles the player walking the Sierra Madre as another lost soul. The Far Beyond. In Fallout New Vegas, you can meet Jason Bright, leader of the Bright Brotherhood, a prophet-like ghoul who's watched over by other ghouls who live at the Repcon test site. The player can help them prepare for their journey to the Far Beyond, a location that is highly radioactive thus making it safe for ghouls, because no humans can get there, and it provides a spot for healing. Jason states that this location came to him in a vision, and thus he and his group wish to travel there, and he knows the way. The player can press a button to start the launch and actually help them get to their destination, even though it's a small percentage. In the end slides, depending on the player's choices, the Bright Brotherhood can come back and help the town of Novak, which hints that the Bright Brotherhood, despite its low chance making it there, makes it to the far beyond, or at least somewhere that's not too far from Novak because they're able to quickly return. So, where could this location be? I've seen many different theories, such as the moon, and although I think that would be really cool, I don't think it makes much sense. In my opinion, the location is most likely Necropolis or Dalo. Of course, the ghouls from the city of Necropolis migrated to the ruins of San Diego, now called Dalo. I think it's possible they heard of the city of ghouls to the west and wanted to go there. The city of Dalo is highly radioactive, so it fits the bill and is close enough that they can walk back. So I think this makes the most sense. Glory isn't a synth. In Fallout 4, the player can meet Glory, a member of the Railroad who's a heavy hitter who carries a large minigun. She claims she's a synth when interacting with her and talking to other members of the Railroad. Hell, you even have an interaction with her as you pretend to interrogate her as a synth to find out what information they can and cannot comprehend. However, if Glory is killed, she does not drop a synth component. This is obviously a big red flag, as you get so much detail about how Glory is supposedly a synth, but it's not true. Other major NPCs have the component, and some NPCs that give no indication that they are synths actually have one. In the PC unofficial patch, which is one of the most downloaded modded patches for the game, they add the Synth component to her. And if you go through discussion boards of the game, people are usually on the side that Bethesda simply forgot to add one to her. However, nothing has ever been confirmed. So, is Gloria synth, or is she not? We might never know. Pure strain humans. The idea of pure humans comes from the original Fallout, the workings of the antagonist, the Master. The Master describes humans with low to radiation-free as a pure human, and those with radiation, aka people who live in the wasteland, as sub-normal humans. Pure humans would be properly affected by the FEV in the way that was intended before the Great War, a, in quote, master race, or basically a super mutant that is both intelligent and super strong. And although there is no difference between a subhuman and pure human, the Master seems to think there is a major difference according to his agenda. The idea of pure humans can be seen throughout the Fallout games, as you play a pure human, especially in the original Fallout, Fallout 3, and Fallout 4, as you are a vault dweller and deemed pure. Except in Fallout 3, you technically aren't pure because you were born outside of the vault and brought in. And you will die if you aid the Enclave in putting the FEV into Project Purity and you drink the water. Fallout 2 TV Town concept. Fallout 2 originally had a totally different main storyline that revolved around a scrapped location, TV Town. Not much is known about this town because it was scrapped so early on, but it was a town founded by an intelligent computer and populated by androids based around 1950s and 60s TV shows. This original concept of the main story would see surrounding factions and towns fighting over pieces of technology within the town. Now, I'm not going to lie, this would have been a downgrade to the main story of Fallout 2, but the idea of having a whole town based around androids pretending to be TV stars from the past would be pretty funny to see. So I would be interested in seeing this concept come to life, but I'm thankful that we didn't get to see it in the end. Institute Bird Spies. Birds aren't real. Well, actually that's kind of true for Fallout 4. In Fallout 4, while wandering the wasteland, you will encounter crows who look to be visually unaffected by radiation. These crows are scattered throughout the wasteland, but are in pretty specific locations. In fact, if you read through some of the terminals in the Synth Retention Bureau in the Institute, you will learn about the Watcher Initiative, a surveillance program that spans the entire Commonwealth used to monitor locations by using synthetic animals like crows. In fact, you can even find video feeds on terminals in the Institute, and when you go to its real-life location, you will see a group of crows. In a cut terminal entry, you would have been able to see that there are Watcher pods that include Diamond City, Good Neighbor, Fort Hagen, Libertaria, Covenant, Warwick, and Vault 81. Now, if you didn't catch on to this, don't feel too bad. Your faction might have backed you up on this, as it seems through terminals and dialogue that the Minutemen and Railroad might have an idea about this initiative. Talking Deathclaws. In 2235, the Enclave captured and then exposed Deathclaws to the FEV, in hopes that they would gain a boost to their intelligence and the ability to follow orders of the Enclave. However, funny enough, the Deathclaws became so intelligent that they revolted against the Enclave due to their morality and orders of their masters. This pack of Deathclaws then took refuge in Vault 13 and protected several humans that lived in and around the vault. It is here that the Chosen One, the protagonist of Fallout 2, can meet and recruit Gorus to follow the player character around, making Gorus one of the most beloved Fallout companions, as he is literally a Deathclaw in a trench coat. Unfortunately, Frank Horgan attacked Vault 13 and massacred all the intelligent Deathclaws, leaving only Gorus and Zarn, a Deathclaw that was kept in Navarro, the only surviving intelligent Deathclaws. With those two the only two left, the species died out because, according to the Fallout Bible, they did not reproduce and they did die out. That will conclude Tier 2 of this iceberg. If I missed anything or if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for more Fallout content and other things. Do you have any theories or concepts you want me to cover? Please leave them in the comment section down below. This is Nick from Nostalgic, signing off.